Tubers, tubettes, various crazy people. This, to your relief, will be a short video. And what we thought, me and I, we thought we would do this time is just kind of give you a little peek behind the curtain as to what happens in our life regarding YouTube, questions, comments, and requests.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what, that's something that maybe we could share with everybody today. And so we discussed it a little bit, and I asked Mae to come up with her top 3, and she thought about it and looked at her phone and sort of gave it some thought, and so here we go. What in your research, Mae, did you figure out to be the most often asked question? What's the number one question you get asked?
The first question is the most guy asking if I have the interview, how to contact the young lady, my interview.
And you don't know these guys?
I don't know.
They're just a comment.
Yeah, just
from some guy.
Yeah.
All right. So you might get 30 guys that say, hey, how do I meet her?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll circle back to that answer.
My answer is only, thank you for watching.
Good idea. All right. Number 2, what would be your second most often?
Number 2 is, why in the Philippines is a lot single mom?
Okay.
Yeah.
I asked that too. Now, that's a legit question. Why are there so many single moms here? Okay. And number 3?
Number 3 is, why do not have a kids with Paul?
Okay. Yeah, all right. That's a little on the personal side and kind of our business, but we'll talk about it. What the hell? What do I got to lose? So I'm going to go over those 3 questions, and then I'm going to go over some of the stuff that I get. And it's like I said, we'll cut to the quick on it. Why do we not let these guys have the girl's Facebook or phone number or contact information?
Yeah.
And it's a pretty simple answer. It's privacy and safety. I once made a snarky remark on her. This guy was hounding Mae about this girl. And I said, yeah, sure, no problem, Ted Bundy. Because we don't know you. And I'm sure you're all real nice people. But if you put yourself in our position, well, when she interviews these young ladies, it's not to make this some sort of instant connection thing, although that has happened on her channel. Guys have, by their own devices, figured out how to get in touch with the lady, not through us, but they've found it on their own. And we know one lady got married not too long ago. And so, and others have had relationships and met and started an LDR deal. And so, but again, we don't do anything that will ever compromise their safety or their privacy. And we hope you understand that. So I actually had a guy on my channel, to blend in with her request, ask me pretty much the same thing, but it was a little more devious, if you will. He said, hey, Paul, how about you, he says, you know, Mae knows all these ladies. How about you set it up to where we can have a way of contacting them? Me and my friends would all like to, you know, meet these girls and show them a good time and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, you know, that's really like illegal, number one. It's not our purpose. It's not my job. I don't owe that to you. I'm sure you understand. And I told him what we just finished talking about. Due to privacy, due to safety, and due to respect to the young ladies and their parents and everybody else involved, no, I'm not going to give out that information, and neither is Baby Mae. And then I signed off by saying thanks in advance for understanding. Well, he fires right back and says, I think you misunderstood me. He said, and you guys tell me if this is creepy or not. But this guy says, no, what I'm thinking is I'll come over there with 3 or 4 or 5 of my friends, and you and Baby Mae can just corral up 3 or 4 or 5 of her friends, and we'll all go out to dinner, and they can meet. And I said to myself, I never replied to his email. It's like, that's even worse. in some way, shape, or form. That's like, I don't want to say the word, but you know what I'm talking about. I don't wear a fur coat and a hat and platform shoes. So, no, I'm not going to get some corral of ladies at a dinner table and provide entertainment for you and your friends. Are you out of your mind? So there's my answer, because I never emailed the guy back. All right, so I think we've covered that. The reason that you don't give out Facebook or contact information is that, if the guy wants to meet the girl, he's going to have to figure it out. I always tell guys, just buy a plane ticket, come over here. Maybe you'll bump into her. I don't know. There's no real pat answer for it other than she's doing the interview as informational. When she talks to them, she doesn't know up front if they're interested, if they're single. Yeah, she usually knows if they're single or not. Yeah. But a lot of the ladies say, no, I don't want to meet anybody, Filipino, foreigner, because I'm going to school. I'm in college. I haven't got time for that. And so then it moves on. If they're single, Mae will always ask them, because that's what ladies ask. Do you want a boyfriend? Yes. Have you had a boyfriend? Yes or no. And then, well, if you met a guy, would you prefer to meet a Filipino or would you prefer to meet a foreigner? And 9 times out of 10, they say, well, I prefer to meet a foreigner. And so that's just sort of like part of the interview. Yeah. Doesn't mean she wants to meet you. No offense, but that's just, I think it gets misconstrued in the communications. Okay, so enough of that. Why are there so many single moms in the Philippines?
Yeah.
I could ask that question as to why there's so many single moms in America. It's no different. However, my take on it is this. After living here for pushing 6 years now, is that there are, the average age out here, number one, is I think 26 years old. And so that's the prime time where boys and girls start to take an interest in each other and start to have romantic feelings and whatnot. I am not going to be disrespectful to the Filipinos here, but boys will be boys and girls will be girls. And in many cases, they live out in a province area. They don't all live in a big city like Cebu or Manila or Dumaguete. A lot of them come here to work and whatnot, but there's still tons of men and women living out like you used to live, up in the woods, up in the, as I call it, out in the province, no electricity, this, that, the other, and boredom sets in. So the young lady and the young guy will get together, and inevitably they don't practice safe sex, and she becomes pregnant. What we have heard firsthand, this is not me assuming anything, but what we have heard firsthand is that when that happens, a lot of the Filipino guys will just kind of cut and run. They don't have the ability. They're not working in many cases. This again is out in the province, or they're going to school, or they don't really care for the girl and it was just a one-time thing, and the parents will put pressure on them. There are exceptions to that rule. I do know one young lady who isn't married, was with a guy, they had a baby together, and his parents are pressing to keep them together and raise the baby. So there's flip sides to each story. But I think the most common answer to that question, or the most logical, is just boys and girls getting together. And a lot of times they'll just take the boy because he doesn't want to take on the financial responsibility, or he gets pressure from his parents about this new burden that's come along, and they'll just move him, or he'll move himself and go live with his cousins somewhere, out of sight, out of mind. There's also, let's just not harp on the Filipinos here, there's also expats that come in and tell a bunch of crazy tales about how much they love the girl and what they're going to do for them and this, that, and the other. And guess what they do? Girl gets pregnant and the expat or the foreigner, he cuts and runs. I know a few of those guys too. So it swings both ways. But I think that's the fairest answer as far as why there's so many single moms out here. And again, I don't think it's really I think the reason it's so prevalent, honest to Injun, is the age average out here. Like I said, 26 years old. That's a young population. And it's growing fast, especially during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pandemic babies coming along. And I believe those are the dynamics that are behind it. And we've asked, and widows. She's got 2 sisters that each have children, and both the husbands died.
Yeah, dead.
Right?
Yeah.
Dead. I mean, what did Reese's, they weren't married, but he was a father.
Yeah.
He was sticking around. What did he die of?
Cancer.
Cancer.
Yeah.
And then
both cancer.
Both cancer. And then Jing.
Cancer.
Cancer also.
Yeah.
Okay, so at least that was the diagnosis. So there's 2 young guys. How old were they when they died? I don't remember.
Risa's husband is 25.
Oh, man.
And Jing is 60.
He was 60 years old?
Yeah, 60 years old, the husband.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there you go. And these 2 guys, so there's widows out here also.
Yeah.
I think that's important to bring out. Medical care out here, especially if you're poor, is poor. All right, so what was the last question? Oh, why don't we have a baby?
Yeah.
Well, like she said, it's up to God. But my personal thing is, I told Mae day one that I met her, I don't want any more kids. And so the reason why is, number one, I've been there and done that. And number 2 is I'm going to be 68 next month. So if she had a baby today, and the average age is, about 80, 84, something like that, am I going to be able to go out in 5 years and play catch and all that good stuff with him? No. I'm just going to be an old guy. And then what will she be when I die? She'll be what we just talked about, a single mom. Okay? So we are doing our best, or I'm doing my best, to set Mae up for that final hours of my life so that she's not financially degraded, if you will. There's things that we've been talking to attorneys about this last week.
Yeah.
We've seen them a few times, and we're setting things up. We've got a few more visits with them, and that's about that. But to be quite honest with you, I think that it would be detrimental to Mae. I know she wants a baby. She would love to have a baby. I think that should have been done. She's 37 years old.
Yeah.
It might be the danger zone as far as health-wise. And so there's a lot of components to that. But primarily, I just think it's the fairest thing to do is to not have a baby. And that's just my spin on it. Real quick, some of the questions that I get is, how did you meet baby Mae?
Yeah.
And how do I meet a girl like baby Mae? And I don't have an answer for you. The only answer I can give you is how I met her, which was not through the typical means. I did not go, neither one of us were on dating sites.
No.
We weren't actively looking on dating sites or anything like that. I was meeting people in person here in Dumaguete and dating them occasionally. But I went out to dinner with a couple of people, and it was my friend and his new girlfriend at the time.
Yeah.
And her name's Abby.
Abby.
And Abby and Mae worked together. They went to massage school together and all that kind of stuff. And did she do catering with you too?
Yeah, we catering.
Oh, okay.
Too.
So she did, so they were best friends.
Yeah.
And Abby asked me at dinner, because I was the third wheel, why don't you have a girlfriend? And I just said, well, I haven't met anybody I like yet. And so she said, well, I know somebody that you might want to meet. I said, okay, give her my Facebook. And we had Facebook, and that's how we contacted. And we did not rush into living with one another. We saw each other for months.
Yeah, months.
And we were separated, I think, 3 times.
Yeah.
Where, it was working, it wasn't working, this was happening. And
Yeah.
so...
I think 6 months.
6 months?
Yeah.
Before we actually came around to agreeing to agree. We had a couple of issues we needed to work out. And we did. So here we are 4 years later.
Yeah, 6 months.
And then the last question, or the one question that I get, if you can believe this, is what the hell's the deal with that chicken? And people who were with me 3-4 years ago know exactly about the chicken. But recently, and I appreciate you guys that have recently subscribed or at least have been watching the channel, you're like, what the hell's that going on with that plastic duck that you've got behind you? It's actually a chicken. And his name's Gaylord. We had a contest to name him. And what the story is behind Gaylord is this. 3 years ago, I think it was, or 4, I can't remember. It was after we moved in together. So about 3 years ago. Mae and I were walking in Valencia Plaza, and we were shopping for vegetables. And there was some cute little puppies. And there was a cage filled with chickens. And so Mae looked at the puppies, and she goes, wouldn't you love to have a puppy? And me, just being sarcastic, I said, nah, I'd rather have one of those chickens. And she goes, what the hell do you want a chicken for? And I said, well, just think about it, baby. I could take the chicken with me on the scooter, and I could drive down to the bar, and I could put the chicken in the seat next to me, and I could tell the bartender, hey, give me a beer and one for my chicken. And she just thought that was the funniest thing she'd ever heard, because she got this visual of me at the bar with this goofy chicken next to me. And it was just a joke. And what happened? My birthday rolled around, and she remembered that. It was like 6 months later. She never forgot that chicken story. And it was just me being snarky. We were shopping for vegetables. And along came Gaylord. And you know what? He's the only one in town.
In the
We've
store.
been back. So I said, you know what? We need to get 2 or 3 more Gaylords in case this one breaks or we lose him or something. And they're not to be found. So Gaylord's pretty unique, right? So you got big plans for your channel coming up. And I don't know if I said this earlier, but her channel's lighting up and doing really well. So we want to give a shout out to all you guys that have been subscribing and liking and watching in spite of your comments. And most of your comments are nice.
Thank you so
and we
much,
appreciate
and
it.
thank you,
And I know
guys.
she does. So that's it. It's 17 minutes. I actually ran longer than I wanted to. But I just kind of wanted to give you, like I said, a little peek behind the curtain. We got a lot of stuff coming up in the future that we're going to go over. But I can't disclose it because for some reason when I tell people what I'm going to do, I find somebody else doing it on another channel. So I'm just going to keep it under my proverbial toupee. All right. We will see you crazy people in our next video. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, guys. And always watching to the Report channel and comment and like. And see you. Big deal. Bye-bye.
There you go.